Ryan, you're free right now, aren't you? Go make me some tea. Mitchell, my subordinate, gave me an order as if it were the most natural thing in the world, even though I was his manager. What are you saying? Oh, come on. You went to some third-tier university. So it's only fair that you do something like this for a prestigious university graduate like me. The room fell into an eerie silence, as if the air had frozen. After 3 years, I had returned to the head office's loan department, only to be greeted by a team that had changed beyond recognition. Among them, Mitchell, one of the younger leaders, wasted no time looking down on me the moment he found out I had graduated from a small town. Third-tier university. I mean, you did go to a third-tier university, right? How could I possibly take orders from someone dumber than me? You little. I clenched my teeth and stood up. A university's rank doesn't determine a person's worth. Oh, really? Is that so? Mitchell sneered. But in this bank, your academic background is everything. A third-tier university graduate in a managerial position? You're nothing more than a figurehead. Mitchell looked down on me, but when we later visited a major client for negotiations, he would soon regret every word he had said thanks to a single comment from the company president's daughter. Oh my, you don't know who Ryan really is? He's in a whole different league than you. His future is guaranteed. What? No way. You're joking, right? Learning the truth about me, Mitchell collapsed to his knees. My name is Ryan. Since graduating, I have worked as a loan officer at Imperial Bank, dealing with various clients and companies. Over the years, I've been transferred between the headquarters, regional banks, and affiliate organizations, sometimes getting caught up in politics and power struggles. But no matter the situation, I've always taken pride in my work and carried out my responsibilities with confidence. Above all, I feel a deep sense of purpose in providing loans to small and mid-sized businesses. Large corporations always have other financing options. But for small businesses, a bank loan can be their lifeline. The weight of that responsibility is heavy, but the sense of fulfillment it brings is even greater. I still vividly remember a loan case I handled 5 years ago. It was for a small factory that had been a source of local pride for 50 years. But when a major manufacturer moved production overseas, their orders plummeted, and they faced a financial crisis. Judging by the financial statements alone, approving a loan was nearly impossible. But I personally visited the factory, met with the CEO, Mr. York, and spoke with the employees. What I saw there was unwavering passion and undeniable craftsmanship. With tears in his eyes, Mr. York told me, I have to protect this technology and the livelihoods of my employees, no matter what. I saw something beyond just numbers. I convinced my superiors to approve the loan. For the next 2 years, I worked side by side with the factory, helping them turn things around. I assisted in finding new clients and advised them on cost-cutting measures. As a result, the factory made a full recovery. Today, it has grown into a key local business, providing jobs for young workers. When I revisited the factory recently, Mr. York greeted me with a beaming smile. If it weren't for that loan, we wouldn't be here today, he said. Hearing those words filled me with pride. This is what makes my job so rewarding. It's not just about approving loans. It's about seeing the businesses grow afterward. That, I believe, is the true work of a banker. Recently, I had been traveling around various branch offices in regional cities. But now, after 3 years, I was returning to the headquarters, the main branch. As I stepped into the headquarters once again as the head of the loan department, I had no idea that I was about to encounter an unbelievable situation and an unexpected reunion. First day on the job. The atmosphere at the headquarters had changed completely. Nearly half the employees were people I didn't recognize. After a few brief greetings, I headed straight for the loan department sign, walking briskly toward my old workplace. Good morning, everyone. Even though I greeted them with enthusiasm, no one so much as glanced up from their computers. Does no one here even know how to say hello? Feeling slightly exasperated, I placed my bag at the desk. Good morning. A tall, young man, probably in his early 20s, approached me. Good morning, or rather, nice to meet you. I'm Ryan, and I'll be working with you all starting today. I'm Mitchell. While the other employees neither responded nor even bothered to stand up, he was the only one who proactively spoke to me. Mitchell, looking forward to working with you. By the way, Ryan. Before he could finish his sentence, he asked me something unexpected. I heard you're a college graduate. Did you go to a private university or a national one? I went to a private university in the countryside. Why? Does that matter? I answered casually, but Mitchell frowned and scoffed. Oh, so you're acting all high and mighty, but you actually went to some third-tier university? That's just embarrassing. What do you mean by that? Believe it or not, I graduated at the top of my class from a prestigious national university. Oh, that's impressive. Huh? That's all you have to say? Wow, what a letdown. Mitchell looked at me as if I were some kind of foreign object. The name of the university you attended isn't that important. Oh, please, that's just idealistic nonsense. He practically spat out the words. At that moment, I heard muffled laughter from other desks. Looking over, I saw a few young employees, likely around Mitchell's age, whispering to each other while glancing in my direction. Is this what all the young guys are like nowadays? From that point on, Mitchell began treating me with blatant disrespect, almost as if I were just a junior from his college days. Mitchell, about this document, I need more concrete justification here. I tapped my index finger on the financial figures. Also, does this actually reflect the client's requests? You did talk to them properly, right? Of course I did. His curt response gave me a bad feeling. But this doesn't make any sense. No one reading this would understand what you're trying to say. You need to make it clearer. Huh? If they actually try to understand, they'll get it. But this is a crucial document for loan approval. For the client, it could literally determine their fate. Yeah, but coming from you, that's not convincing at all. Mitchell scratched his head and pursed his lips in annoyance. My patience was wearing thin. I mean, you're just some third-tier university graduate. Why should I listen to anything you say? Mitchell, this is where you and I are different. Right here. He pointed to his temple with his index finger. Ha! This is going to be a long road ahead. I let out a deep sigh. And my bad feeling turned out to be right. One day, Mitchell and I visited a company we were in charge of together. This was an important client, one that had remained loyal to our bank ever since I first handled their loan. On the way to the company, Mitchell and I had this exchange. Ryan, I don't need you butting in. Well, you are the main contact, after all. Just make sure you don't say anything disrespectful. Don't worry. I'm known as the elite banker of this headquarters. Still as overconfident as ever, Mitchell puffed out his chest. We would like to present this proposal to you today. With that, Mitchell confidently handed over the proposal document, the one I had painstakingly revised, to Justin, one of the company's key employees. Justin's expression darkened immediately, shifting from confusion to outright displeasure. Mitchell, I'm sorry, but I'm having trouble understanding this document. Huh? You don't understand? That can't be right. I just don't see why we need to sign up for this particular service. Well, that's because we're highly confident in what we're offering. It's only natural. Mitchell spoke as if his reasoning was beyond question. I could feel the tension rising in the room, beads of cold sweat forming on my forehead as I watched the conversation unfold. There's no way anyone would agree to this with such a vague explanation. Finally, Justin could no longer hold back. He turned to me. "Ryan, I'd like to hear directly from you." I was about to respond when Mitchell abruptly cut in. "Oh, come on. What are you saying? I'm one of the most promising bankers in this institution. Why would you overlook me? You are simply not worth talking to. That's only because you're refusing to properly understand our proposal." What? At Mitchell's outrageous remark, I could see a vein pop on Justin's temple. Look, with revenue at this level, branching into other businesses is completely reckless. What the hell did you just say? That was like throwing gasoline on a fire. You know what? Forget it. We'll take our business to another bank. As expected, Justin, now fuming, was ready to kick us out. And just when I thought things couldn't get worse, Mitchell made an unforgivable remark. "Well, good luck with that. No other bank is going to waste their time on a small company like yours." With that, he stormed out, stomping his feet as he left. I went pale. Bowing deeply, I desperately tried to apologize. "I sincerely apologize. This is entirely my failure in supervision." Of course, Justin had every right to be furious. I've never met such an arrogant banker before. "What the hell is going on with the training in your department?" I listened to every word, not missing a single point, and continued bowing my head in apology. Eventually, after cooling down a little, Justin spoke again. "Ryan, you helped us out in the past. Out of respect for you, we'll proceed with this loan through Imperial Bank. But from now on, I don't want Mitchell anywhere near our account. If he's involved, we're done with your bank." I couldn't even lift my head. From that day on, every time Mitchell visited a client, he somehow managed to rub them the wrong way. What a troublesome subordinate I've ended up with. I started feeling a real sense of danger. Mitchell's attitude could damage the bank's reputation. But I also knew that simple scolding wouldn't work. My past experiences had taught me that if I didn't change Mitchell's entire mindset, this situation wouldn't improve. One day, after returning from another disastrous client meeting, I stopped him. "Mitchell, do you have a minute? Another lecture? What do you really think about the job of a loan officer? What do you mean by that? Do you enjoy your job?" At that moment, it was as if Mitchell had been waiting for an opportunity to vent. He immediately started complaining about his current position. "The companies I'm assigned to are just too low level. It's frustrating how these people fail to recognize my worth. Just so you know, there's no such thing as superior or inferior companies." Oh great, here comes another lecture. Clearly fed up, Mitchell had already categorized me as beneath him, making it impossible to get through to him. I should be assigned to companies that match my level. "You're just terrible at delegating work." I see. Looking him straight in the eye, I decided it was time to put my plan into action. "All right then, let's assign you to a company that matches your level." "Ha!" Caught off guard, Mitchell blinked in confusion. But as soon as he saw the company name on the documents I handed him, his expression completely changed. "Wait. Everett Trading? You mean that major construction company? That's huge. Yeah, I figured they'd be the perfect match for you. But if it's too much for you, I won't force it." No, I'll take it. This is exactly what I've been waiting for." He cheered, waving the documents in excitement. "Looks like you finally understand what I was saying. Ryan, you're not so bad after all." "I'm glad you think so." A week later, the big day arrived for Mitchell. "Man, I hear the female employees at Everett Trading are really attractive." Mitchell muttered smugly as he scrolled through his phone. Did he even read the materials properly? Thinking back over the past week, I watched his overconfidence with increasing concern. Let's see how this goes. "Hello, I'm Caitlin. We've been expecting you." I'm Mitchell from Imperial Bank. Now that I'm here, everything's going to be just fine. I felt a chill run down my spine at his words, but Caitlin's expression didn't change as she quietly took her seat. Her name was Caitlin Everett. She was not only the daughter of Everett Trading's president but also a highly respected and accomplished executive in her own right, a true corporate powerhouse. After brief introductions and small talk, she began reviewing the loan proposal documents with a serious expression. As expected, her face soon darkened. "What is this?" Caitlin furrowed her brows and looked directly at Mitchell. "What do you mean?" "It's a loan proposal." "I know that. What I want to know is the reasoning behind each figure and projection listed here. Could you explain them in detail?" Mitchell frantically rummaged through his bag, desperately searching for any supporting documents. Sighing, I handed over a supplementary report I had prepared separately. This document provides detailed figures along with the supporting data. I hope this will be helpful. Thank you. I could feel Mitchell shooting me a glare, making sure Caitlin wouldn't see. "Mitchell, does this proposal include the company-wide targets we discussed last time?" Company-wide targets? Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, Everett Trading's revenue is always stable in this sector. After all, it's a household name, a major corporation. Mitchell grinned smugly, but Caitlin remained stone-faced. Being a major corporation doesn't mean we can afford to be complacent. The economic landscape is shifting. If we don't stay ahead, we'll be overtaken. I wonder if someone as young as you can grasp that. Of course. I even trade stocks, so I completely understand the economy. Mitchell put on an exaggeratedly proud expression, clearly trying to impress her. But Caitlin wasn't buying it. In that case, why did you inflate this number? Even without factoring in interest, it should be a much lower figure. Well. It's really dry in here. Ryan, you're free right now, aren't you? Go make me some tea. Mitchell spoke as if it were the most natural thing in the world, giving me an order. What are you saying? Oh, come on, you're just a third-tier banker. Doing something like this should be no big deal for you. The casual way he said it made cold sweat run down my back. The entire conference room was filled with an unspoken, "this has to be a joke" kind of tension. Then, as if she'd finally run out of patience, Caitlin started calling out Mitchell's behavior. "Mitchell, watching you, I must say you have quite the attitude." Ha. Even after being called out so directly, Mitchell still had the nerve to laugh it off. I couldn't believe his lack of awareness. Caitlin sighed before continuing. "I'll be blunt. Watching you makes me uncomfortable." "What?" "We're here because we're carrying the weight of our company. You might think this is just about borrowing money. But do you have any idea how much effort goes into getting to this stage? Moving billions of yen isn't a simple transaction, it's a responsibility. I mean. Hit with a direct dose of reality, Mitchell had no comeback. And yet, you can't even explain your own proposal. And what was that just now? How dare you ask your boss to buy me a drink? Well, let me warn you, getting cocky just because you graduated from a prestigious university is going to come back to haunt you. Then, Caitlin dropped an unexpected bombshell. But you might not be able to act so high and mighty for much longer. What do you mean by that? You probably have no idea, given your attitude, but Caitlin, that's enough. Sorry, but I have to say this. What are you two mumbling about? Mitchell glanced between us, looking increasingly irritated. Then, in a voice loud enough for everyone to hear, Caitlin declared, "He's Imperial Bank's top corporate restructuring expert, the one they call the company reviver." The company reviver? Wait, you're kidding. Mitchell's eyes widened so much they looked like they were about to pop out. He stared at me, scanning my entire body as if trying to figure out if this was some kind of elaborate prank. No way. That can't be right. I heard that people who get transferred to the headquarters loan department are all problematic cases. My seniors told me that only the troublemakers end up here. Ryan is nothing like the other bankers. Caitlin's firm tone even made me flinch a little. You don't even know the first thing about your own boss. What exactly have you been paying attention to? Then, as if telling a story about herself, Caitlin began explaining something I had rarely spoken about. People think Imperial Bank only deals with high-profile companies. But that's not true. Especially not for Ryan. He has a unique talent. He can see the potential in companies on the brink of collapse and provide the right financial support to turn things around. Many businesses and entrepreneurs owe their survival to him. That's why, within the bank, he's earned the title of Company Reviver. I've heard of the Company Reviver before. But him? No way. Mitchell shot me a skeptical look. Then why would someone like him be transferred all over the place? If he was so important, he should be in line for president. It was the head office that requested him. Ha! Scratching my head, I finally spoke up. It was during a time of intense internal politics. Honestly, it worked out well for me. I was able to escape the power struggles at the main branch. But more than that, I wanted to help people through my work in loan management. In fact, his achievements have been recognized so much that he's even been considered a candidate for the next bank president. You didn't know that, did you? The next bank president? The unexpected revelation left Mitchell completely stunned, forgetting all about his work. But instead of accepting it, he pointed at me in frustration and blurted out something outrageous. No. That's a lie. Caitlin, you must be brainwashed or something. Mitchell. Watch your words. You know that's ridiculous. I countered him firmly. Sorry, I need to excuse myself. I'm feeling a little unwell. He said that, unable to hide his agitation, and stumbled against the conference room door as he hurriedly left. For a moment, both Caitlin and I just stared in the direction Mitchell had fled, stunned. Then, we snapped back to reality. I'm sorry it turned into such a mess. No, I feel great. I finally got to say what I wanted to say. Caitlin flashed a bright smile, one that seemed almost too cheerful considering she had just finished scolding Mitchell. I put you in a tough spot, Caitlin. Not at all. But I have to say, Ryan, your plan caught me off guard. I returned the compliment. Your sharp work never fails to impress me. Just watching you in action makes me straighten my back a little. Oh, please. Don't tell me you were thinking I was some scary office tyrant. But thanks to you playing the role of the strict senior, I think Mitchell might actually start to rethink his attitude. Maybe, but people don't change that easily. Her firm words reminded me of the countless times we had butted heads in the past. Back when I was still just a loan officer. I had been assigned as the primary contact for major corporate loans. On the other side, handling negotiations for her company, was Caitlin, who had just been promoted to a managerial role at the time. We were the same age, which made our discussions go relatively smoothly. However, because we were both serious about it, sparks flew whenever we faced each other. There were even times when the tension got so bad that it felt like we might end up taking each other down. Having weathered those intense encounters together, I had come to regard Caitlin differently from others I had worked with, almost as if we shared an unspoken bond. Looking back, hearing about the loan proposal for Everett Trading after so long and assigning it to Mitchell was nothing more than a sign of what was to come. Originally, another employee was supposed to handle it, but I explained the reason to Caitlin and had her take over instead, hoping it would be an opportunity for Mitchell to change his extremely poor attitude. With her strong sense of justice and impeccable work ethic, I believed she would be able to reason with him. That was just my own wishful thinking. I haven't dealt with the loan department in a while, so it was actually kind of exciting, she said with a smirk. But do you really think that Mitchell is going to reflect on this? Well, after taking that much of a beating, something must have gotten through to him. You sure have your hands full, Ryan. She offered me a sympathetic smile. Then, out of curiosity, I asked, "Why did you agree to take on this meeting anyway? Was it just because I pushed you into it?" Well, she let out a small cough, as if trying to cover up something, then continued. Because we're comrades. We went through a hell of a time back then, and you helped me overcome it. How could I say no to you? Hearing you say that makes me feel like all my work as a banker is truly worth it. I didn't notice even for a second that she was shaken inside. Instead, I was just really happy to know she felt the same way as I did. Hey, do you have plans tonight? Caught off guard by the sudden question, I shook my head. Then let's grab a drink. Sure, I don't mind. It's been a while since we caught up. One night won't hurt. Over the years, we had both grown older. There was plenty to talk about, and I figured nothing about this would be detrimental to work. Or so I thought. You haven't changed a bit. Caitlin and I sat at the counter of a quiet bar tucked away in an alley off the main street. The atmosphere was relaxed, with a soft jazz saxophone playing in the background. The bartender was silent and efficient, letting the music and the clinking of glasses do the talking. And neither have you. Unlike her daytime demeanor, Caitlin now had a liberated, carefree expression as she laughed. Honestly, I'm always impressed by your work. No wonder you're being considered for the next bank president. Hey, don't say that so casually. And especially not in front of Mitchell. Oh, but I heard it firsthand today. I happened to be with one of our executives when Mr. Fletcher came up for a chat. And guess what he said? Mr. Fletcher is always going on about his grand ideals, so you should only take his words at half value. With that, I found myself speaking more freely than I intended. Ranting about the nonsensical faction politics within the bank and all the frustrations that had been piling up. That kind of thing happens everywhere, huh? Caitlin swirled her glass, her tone resigned but unsurprised. Hey, she said, shifting to a different topic. You know, because I'm the CEO's daughter, people always tend to view me with a bit of favoritism. That's why I pushed myself so hard to rebel against that assumption. Before I knew it, I'd become this unapproachable figure. Yeah, I always got the sense that you were pushing yourself harder than anyone else. Exactly. But if I didn't, no one would take me seriously. People assume a company president's daughter must have been spoiled her whole life. So I had to work twice as hard to prove them wrong. Because she viewed her own position objectively, she must have faced many hardships. I stole a quick glance at Caitlin as she spoke with a distant look on her face. Normally, she was the embodiment of a high-powered career woman, always dressed impeccably in a sharp black suit. But now, relaxed from the drinks. She had draped her jacket over the chair beside her. Her bare arms peeked out from her sleeveless blouse. Even through her clothes, her figure was noticeable, and it felt as if a hidden side of her femininity had been revealed to me. For some reason, I couldn't help but feel a bit restless. What is it? She must have sensed my gaze because she turned toward me. Nothing, really. I quickly averted my eyes, only to find them drawn to her long, slender legs beneath her skirt. Damn. I've never looked at anyone in the same industry this way before. I wasn't sure if it was the alcohol or the atmosphere, but I could feel my heartbeat quicken. Unaware of my inner turmoil, Caitlin continued speaking. I've always thought this. Thought what? That you, Ryan, don't just look at our company as a client. You take us seriously not just as a banker, but as a person. Over the years, we've had loan offers from so many banks, but Imperial Bank was the only one that handled things with true sincerity. That's a huge compliment. I appreciate it. I responded with deliberate modesty, making her chuckle. When I first met you, I thought you were a stiff, uptight guy, so difficult to deal with. You always had that furrowed brow. And I couldn't tell if you were angry or if that was just your resting face. Yeah, I hear that a lot. Behind my back, mostly. I figured. We both laughed. I had my own blind spots too. I didn't want to be underestimated, so I tried to do everything on my own. But I'll never forget what you told me back then. What did I say? Even if you manage to handle everything alone, it's nothing more than self-satisfaction. In the end, you'll just be holding everyone back. She said it all in one breath, leaning on her elbow, lost in nostalgia. Looking back, I was incredibly arrogant. My pride got the best of me, and I reacted emotionally at the time. But now, I understand. I'm grateful you knocked me down a peg when I needed it. We really clashed back in the day, huh? Thinking about all our past arguments, I downed the last of my whiskey. That's why this time, I wanted to return the favor. Well, I appreciate it. I'll be sure to. Ryan. Just as I was about to continue, Caitlin cut me off as if she had something to say. Ryan, you're different from everyone else. You actually see me for who I am, and that makes me really happy. That's why I'm glad I got to see you again today. There was something in her eyes, something almost intoxicating. I'm really glad we got to work together again, I said, keeping my tone professional. But somehow, my composed response only seemed to ignite something in her. This world is so unfair. Why do you say that? She hesitated for a moment before, with a teasing lilt, she said something completely unexpected. It's hard to believe that someone as capable and genuinely good as you is still single. Well, Hey, Ryan. As she said that, Caitlin leaned in closer. The faint scent of her shampoo lingered in the air, teasing what little restraint I had left. Ryan, do you have a girlfriend right now? No, I've been too buried in work. Haven't had time for anything like that. I forced a chuckle, but inside, my heart was pounding so hard it felt like it might leap out of my chest. I tried to steady myself, to regain control of the moment. Caitlin, I think you've had a little too much to drink. We should probably call it a night. Just as I was about to say before it affects tomorrow, she cut me off. Do you not like me? Her voice, low, sultry. Completely different from the commanding tone she had used to shut down Mitchell earlier that day, made me instinctively lean back. I leaned back slightly, but I was already getting caught up in Caitlin's pace. It's not that. Then maybe I should be your girlfriend. As if to reinforce her seemingly serious words, she rested her head on my shoulder. I had never been this close to a woman other than her before. Caught up in the moody atmosphere, I found myself instinctively wrapping my arm around Caitlin's shoulder. I think I drank too much. As I tried to convince myself this is just for tonight, another part of me whispered, this could be a disaster. Meanwhile, back at the loan department, the lights were still on. Mitchell sat in front of his computer, wearing an expression I had never seen on him before. Serious, focused, almost desperate. His fingers flew across the keyboard, his muttering barely audible. I can do this. No one's watching right now. This is my chance. Muttering to himself, he kept typing away at the keyboard with single-minded focus. No one had the slightest idea that this would turn into an incident that would shake the entire bank. Good morning. Good morning, Ryan. My subordinates all greeted me at once. As usual, I opened my laptop and began sifting through the overwhelming number of emails. But my mind kept recalling a side of Caitlin I had never known before, and each time, I tried to push it out of my thoughts. I'm out of mind. I needed to focus on work, yet not a single client email was sinking in. Since that night, Caitlin and I had subconsciously been avoiding personal interactions. As I listened to my subordinate's concerns, my mind kept drifting toward Caitlin. Do I actually have feelings for her? But I knew one thing for certain: she was a client. If things escalated, it would inevitably affect work. And that was something I absolutely had to avoid. It was just a momentary lapse. Stop overthinking it. I forced myself to refocus, reaching for the approval documents in front of me. Mitchell, on the other hand, had been surprisingly quiet since Caitlin had called him out. He no longer made snide remarks toward me, nor did he act condescendingly toward his colleagues. Had he actually turned over a new leaf? "Excuse me, could you review this document?" Mitchell suddenly appeared beside me, handing over a loan proposal for a construction company he had been working with. "Oh. Yeah, sure. Thanks." Still lost in my thoughts, I reacted more awkwardly than usual. "What do you think, Ryan?" "This is my big moment." Mitchell puffed out his chest with pride. "A huge deal like this doesn't come around often, right? This proves that I can secure major loan deals. And see? I didn't have to waste time reading people's faces like you always talk about. Numbers are what matter, and as long as they add up, deals get done." The surrounding employees gathered around, intrigued. "Whoa, Mitchell, that's impressive. Yeah, how'd you manage to land such a big deal?" Mitchell smirked with confidence. "It's just a fresh, young perspective. You wouldn't be able to land a deal like this with old-school thinking." At first, even I was impressed. Securing a loan of this scale was rare. For a junior employee to achieve something like this was nothing short of remarkable. "Hey, everyone, get back to work," I said as I immediately started looking through the documents. Then, something caught my eye. The monthly sales figures for this company weren't that high last time I checked. "Mitchell, what's going on here? Isn't this amount a bit too large for a company of this size?" "Of course not. This is the amount they're expecting to earn," Mitchell replied with full confidence. "Ryan, just look at the numbers. The figures don't lie." You don't need to read people's expressions when the data speaks for itself. Something about that statement felt off. The numbers were impressive, sure. But, wait a minute. Wasn't this construction firm a subcontractor for Everett Trading? Could Caitlin know something about this? Show me their past financial records. If they've been receiving orders at this scale before, then it should be documented. Let's confirm it. Hand it over. I reached for the file, but Mitchell quickly pulled back. His expression twitched before he stammered out a response. Well. Oh. That's right. You know, her, the CEO's daughter from Everett Trading. You mean Caitlin?" "Yes. Yes, exactly." Mitchell nodded frantically, repeating her name as if trying to divert my attention. "Are you saying Caitlin is involved in this?" "Yes, she insisted that this loan had to go through, no matter what." "What do you mean by that?" "Hello, this is Ryan from Imperial Bank." "Caitlin? Oh, Ryan? What's up? There's something I need to confirm with you." I quickly summarized the situation. Silence. Then, I heard her inhale sharply. "Do you know anything about this? If you have the data for that proposal, send it to me as soon as possible." With the receiver in one hand, I operated my computer and did as I was told. "Well, what is this? I've never heard of this deal. I think there must be some kind of mistake. But Mitchell claimed you were behind it. Are you sure you have no idea what this is about?" "Absolutely. If I had seen this, I would have investigated it immediately." Something about this feels off. We hung up, both of us still unsettled. Based on everything I knew about Caitlin's work ethic, it was unlikely that something like this would slip past her. I turned back to Mitchell. At first glance, he looked composed, but his eyes kept flicking between his monitor and the floor. He was avoiding eye contact. He's hiding something. Mitchell. What? He answered curtly, still staring at his screen, refusing to meet my gaze. I just confirmed with Caitlin. She knows nothing about this deal. Ah. Care to explain what's really going on? That is. After going back and forth between my questioning and Mitchell's silence, he finally gave in and told the truth. I really needed this loan to be approved no matter what. So, I fudged the numbers. You mean, you put false information on the documents? Mitchell nodded begrudgingly, sulking. Without thinking, I slammed my desk and stood up, glaring at him sharply. Mitchell! Do you have any idea what you've done? But if I hadn't done this, the construction company would have gone bankrupt. What you did is an act that could destroy Imperial Bank's credibility. Why would you do something like this? Because I was completely humiliated in that last meeting. This is payback. I just wanted to prove that I could do something too. Mitchell. I was so dumbfounded that I instinctively looked down. Bringing personal grudges into work? That's even worse. Oh, come on, Ryan. Like you don't let personal matters affect your decisions? What are you talking about? Mitchell, as if he had just won a battle, started speaking rapidly. I know all about it. That woman, Caitlin, she's the daughter of the CEO of Everett Trading, isn't she? And rumor has it that you two are pretty close. The entire loan department's talking about it. Yes, she is the CEO's daughter, but to me, she's an important client. Making baseless accusations based on rumors is disrespectful to her. You're always defending her. Either way, the loan is off the table. You can't be serious. Mitchell's face went pale. For now, we're going to the construction company to explain and apologize. Let's go. I forcefully shoved the reluctant Mitchell into the car and kept running through the necessary steps I had to take next in my head. The air inside the car was heavy with silence, and Mitchell kept his head down the entire time. After about 30 minutes of tense driving, the sign of the construction company finally came into view. The old, two-story office building stood out awkwardly among the newer buildings surrounding it. We're here. Mitchell flinched at my words. I pulled the car to the side of the road, and we both headed toward the office. As soon as I opened the door, the faint scent of wood drifted in the air. Excuse me. As I called out, I heard hurried footsteps approaching from the back. Yes? Who might you be? A mild-mannered man with streaks of gray in his hair appeared. This must be Mr. Anderson, the president of the construction company. I'm Ryan from Imperial Bank. I'm here regarding your recent loan application. Ah, come in, come in. Sorry, things are a bit chaotic, we're right in the middle of a big delivery. Even as he said that, Mr. Anderson still took the time to serve us tea politely. The office was cluttered with scattered documents and estimates, a clear sign of how busy they were. But even so, the scale of the company didn't seem to warrant such a massive loan. Today happens to be our day off, so I'm the only one in the office, Mr. Anderson explained. I glanced at Mitchell out of the corner of my eye. He was visibly uneasy, his gaze darting around. Since this was my first time meeting Mr. Anderson, I formally handed him my business card before getting straight to the point. Given the circumstances, we won't be able to approve the loan. I bowed deeply. But Mr. Anderson remained silent, his lips pressed into a firm line, making it impossible to read his emotions. Seeing this, Mitchell muttered under his breath. Why the hell is it being rejected? His frustration was clear, but I reprimanded him more firmly than before. The one who has every right to be upset is Mr. Anderson. Mitchell, you. Ryan, it's fine now. Mr. Anderson spoke in a voice that sounded like he had given up on everything. What are you saying, Uncle? Mitchell looked like he was about to burst into tears. It's fine, Mitchell. This place was always going to end with my generation. But I haven't even repaid you for everything you've done for me yet. Watching you work hard as a banker is repayment enough." Mr. Anderson looked at Mitchell with deep affection. I still didn't fully understand the situation, but then he turned to me. "You must be Mitchell's boss." I should have introduced myself sooner. I'm one of his relatives. He took off his hat and bowed deeply. Mitchell's father and I were second cousins. We used to play together all the time. His parents were both incredibly smart, and they doted on him with so much love. They were such a close, happy family, or at least, I thought they were. Mr. Anderson paused, wiping the corners of his eyes with a handkerchief. Next to me, Mitchell pursed his lips tightly, silently listening. It was before he even started elementary school. A tragic accident, if you can call it that. Both his parents were caught in it, and that was it. He had no siblings, no one else. Mitchell was left all alone. I hated the world for being so cruel. Mr. Anderson explained that he had taken Mitchell in, raising him as his own, never treating him any differently from his own children. Mitchell was always bright. I never had much education, I only made it through middle school, and it was tough. That's why I wanted him to have the best schooling. I worked as hard as I could so my kids could go to good schools. Thankfully, my sons grew up to be independent, and Mitchell, well, as you can see, he became a fine banker. It's all thanks to you, Uncle. Mitchell's voice was softer than I had ever heard it. I nearly dropped the teacup I was holding. I've always wanted to repay you. So when I heard that your company's loan was assigned to me, I was over the moon. You put me through college even when the business was struggling, and you took care of me all these years. I wanted to give something back. That's why Hearing this unexpected side of Mitchell, I couldn't help but listen intently. I became a banker because I saw how much hardship money could bring. When I was little, I saw my aunt, exhausted in her worn-out work clothes, talking desperately to some man from the bank. And that guy was awful. He acted so high and mighty. I thought to myself, I'll never be a banker like that. I'll become someone better than him. That was my only goal. A complicated mix of emotions swirled inside me. At the same time, a different feeling, one I hadn't had before, began to take root. This company has always been respected in the community. They have skilled craftsmen, and their handmade furniture and baby toys are in high demand. They're constantly receiving orders. That's enough, Mitchell. Thank you. Mr. Anderson, his eyes brimming with tears, gently placed a hand on Mitchell's shoulder. I let out a small sigh, blinking rapidly. What am I supposed to do in this situation? This isn't right. Mitchell suddenly erupted. Why is the world so unfair? Big corporations get money thrown at them no matter what kind of shady things they do. But small businesses, no matter how honest they are, always get the short end of the stick. The frustration he had been holding in burst out all at once. Even if a big company comes up with some sketchy business plan, they still get approved for loans. But companies like this, companies that work hard, companies that do everything right, always have to struggle. Mitchell's voice was trembling. It was a mix of anger and deep sorrow. Ryan, you know this is true. Do you remember that major IT companies loan? There were suspicions of accounting fraud. But the loan still went through, didn't it? Meanwhile, for a company like this, every little thing gets scrutinized down to the last detail before a decision is made. I held my breath. He was right. Big companies sometimes got their loans approved with alarmingly lax screening. Mitchell let out a deep sigh and continued. At first, I was just angry. It pissed me off how reckless corporate plans got funded so easily while hard-working small businesses were ignored. The unfairness of it all made my blood boil. He paused for a moment, glancing at me with guilt in his eyes. So I started making things harder for loan applicants on purpose. I forced stricter conditions on them, pushed them to revise their plans again and again. If it's all just a numbers game, I figured I'd play it to the extreme. But all I did was piss people off. Regret was written all over his face. But after spending time with people like my uncle, I realized something. My way of doing things wasn't helping the people who really needed it. I was just hurting them instead. His hands clenched into fists. So this time, I wanted to help. Even if I had to manipulate the numbers, I wanted to help the honest, hard-working small businesses that were being left behind. I wanted to get the money flowing to the people who actually needed it. Determination and remorse flickered in his eyes. Look at this construction company. They've worked so hard for so long, yet they can't even get a simple loan for equipment upgrades. How is that fair? I couldn't say a word. Indeed, I had felt the unfairness of the system. But had he gone so far as to commit an illegal act in an attempt to correct it? But that doesn't make it right. I looked Mitchell straight in the eyes. Mitchell, hearing your thoughts today has given me a lot to think about. I understand that you wanted to help your uncle. But what you did just now is something a banker should never do. Now, do you understand what you need to do? Mitchell said nothing, just kept his head down. As I looked around the shop, I could see the care and craftsmanship that had gone into everything. From what I had seen in past records, sales were low, but the trend itself wasn't bad. Still, if things continued like this, the company was on a path to inevitable ruin. Walking away now would be far too cruel. I thought for a moment before speaking. Mr. Anderson, there's still something we can do. Huh? Both Mr. Anderson and Mitchell looked at me as if they had just seen a glimmer of hope. I'll find a way to retry this from my end. Give me a little more time. Ryan. Ignoring Mitchell's shocked expression, I bowed deeply. After leaving the construction company, I let out a deep sigh in my car. I pulled out my phone and hesitantly dialed Caitlin's number. Hello, Caitlin? It's Ryan. Ryan. Her voice carried an unmistakable exhaustion. Good timing. Something serious has happened. I pulled over to the side of the road and turned off the engine. What's going on? She paused for a moment before slowly speaking. The situation with the construction company has caused an uproar at my office. I'm being held responsible for it. What? But you didn't. I know. But the executives don't see it that way. She let out a deep sigh before continuing. First, because I'm in charge of subcontractor management. They're saying it's my fault for not properly keeping track of the construction company's situation. But that's such a minor detail. That's not all. Her voice wavered slightly. Ryan, they're questioning our relationship. They suspect that I'm too close to you, that this might be some kind of collusion with the bank. I felt my breath catch. That's ridiculous. We're just... I know. Caitlin spoke gently. But they don't see it that way. She hesitated for a moment before adding in a small voice. And the fact that I'm the CEO's daughter is also being used against me. They're saying I've damaged the company's reputation. I furrowed my brows. I see. I understand the situation. Actually, I've been working on a plan. But I'll need your help. A plan? There was a trace of hope in her voice. Yeah. I'll explain everything soon. For now, just hang in there. We'll find a way through this. After hanging up, I let out another deep sigh. The situation was more complicated than I had expected. I needed to save the construction company, correct Mitchell's mistake, and get Caitlin out of this mess. I had to find a way to fix everything. With renewed determination, I started the engine again. I drove to the bank, ready to take my next step. For the next few days, I meticulously analyzed the construction company's past performance and revenue details, searching for its strengths. What do you think? The board members were completely silent. Given the circumstances, securing a loan for a company that had already failed once required an extraordinary restructuring plan. I pored over the financial records repeatedly, refining a detailed business proposal late into the night, including an analysis of repayment rates if the loan were granted. Eventually, I managed to arrange an emergency general meeting, and now I was standing alone among executives gathered from across the country, facing a tense moment. Among them were senior executives from Everett Corporation and Caitlin. Thank you all for taking the time to meet today. Now, let me present my proposal. What I proposed was the following: a joint venture between Everett Corporation and the construction company to enter the vacant house renovation market. In recent years, while new single-family homes continue to be built, vacant houses had become an increasing social issue, especially in suburban areas. During a previous conversation with Caitlin over drinks, she had mentioned that Everett Corporation had been expanding into the home renovation business in recent years. That caught my attention. Restoring and repurposing existing structures had become a growing trend. By combining Everett Corporation's brand power and financial resources with the construction company's technical expertise, Everett Corporation could further establish itself in the renovation industry, while the construction company would secure a stable workload. I was determined to get this deal approved. My heart was on fire. What do you think? Moreover, the proposal I have just presented has already been approved internally within Everett Corporation. If we secure this loan, construction can begin immediately. In fact, the project is already underway, and we have received approvals from several vacant property owners, ensuring smooth loan repayment. The conference room buzzed with murmurs. Then, Mr. Fletcher suddenly stood up. This is unprecedented. However, we have a long-standing relationship with Everett Corporation. Given the thorough research and carefully calculated profit margins, I have no reason to oppose this. I wholeheartedly support this proposal. Following his statement, applause gradually spread through the room. Thus, the emergency loan for the renovation project was approved, securing a special loan for the construction company. Additionally, Caitlin's false accusations were cleared, and trust within the company was restored. Ryan, that was incredible. I can't believe you managed to get Mr. Fletcher's approval. I've said some pretty harsh things to you, Ryan. I feel ashamed of myself. I'll follow you for life, Ryan. Hearing about the outcome, my subordinates completely changed their attitude, showering me with praise. Thank you. I'm counting on you all from now on. As I remained calm, I couldn't help but reflect on how fickle people could be. Yet, I was genuinely happy that I had finally connected with my team in the loan department. Wait, where's Mitchell? Oh, him, well. I hurried to the HR department. Excuse me. Mitchell. Ryan. Mitchell, who was in the middle of processing his resignation, turned to face me. His expression looked as if he had given up on everything. I'm not qualified to be a banker anymore. I have to take responsibility and resign. His words made me furrow my brows. Why do you have to quit? If I stay, I'll just bring down the standards of the headquarters. Standards don't matter. What's important is what you want to do with your life. I realized through all of this how arrogant I had been. For the first time, Mitchell's voice was honest and sincere. I thought I was special just because I graduated from a prestigious university. I got carried away, hurt people who had helped me. I can't stay after that. I looked at his hunched shoulders and spoke gently. Every mistake and failure you make while you're young is just a scratch. This time, you took a hard hit, but in the future, it will become one of your most valuable lessons. Don't you think so, Mitchell? I placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Remember why you became a banker in the first place? It was to help your uncle's construction company, wasn't it? As long as you don't forget that, you can always be a banker who stands by those in need. You can do this, Mitchell. Ryan. I'm so sorry, Mitchell said, bowing his head repeatedly, tears streaming down his face. I gently patted his back, continuing to comfort him. You must be busy with all the new orders coming in. Yes, thanks to you. This is all because of you, Ryan. Under the scorching heat of 95 degrees Fahrenheit, Mr. Anderson spoke with satisfaction, sweat pouring down his face as he worked. At one point, the construction company's survival was in jeopardy. However, after securing the loan, their sales gradually increased. And now they had reached the point where they could hire new employees every year. Not only had they secured a deal with Everett Corporation, but they had also begun working with other major companies. With this level of stability, the loan repayment seemed secure, and I felt a deep sense of relief. Meanwhile, Caitlin's outstanding work, including her efforts in this case, was recognized, and she was officially promoted to executive officer. Although her involvement in field work would decrease, she was determined to set an example for her subordinates and junior employees. In response to Mitchell's actions, Imperial Bank launched a comprehensive review of its lending system. To prevent any future misconduct, a new system was being implemented at an accelerated pace. First, the loan screening process was made more transparent. A multi-layered review system was introduced, ensuring that no single individual could approve a loan on their own. Additionally, AI-based fraud detection technology was integrated, allowing the system to automatically identify suspicious transaction patterns and irregular loan applications. Furthermore, a new lending program for small businesses was established. This initiative aimed to provide appropriate financial support to small-scale businesses that previously struggled to secure loans. Fortunately, Mitchell's fraudulent loan scheme was discovered before it could be executed, preventing any real damage. However, he was given a 1-month suspension. During this period, his salary was cut, and he was barred from promotion reviews for the next 2 years. Mitchell, you almost made a huge mistake. But you still have a chance to start over. Take this month to reflect on yourself. At my words, Mitchell bowed his head deeply. During his suspension, he underwent training on financial ethics and compliance, using the time to deeply reflect on his actions. When he returned to the bank a month later, he was a changed man. The arrogance and condescension he once displayed had disappeared, replaced with humility and sincerity. For this project, I believe we can approve the loan at this interest rate. To reach the target amount within this time frame. Day after day, he devoted himself to assisting clients in need with genuine dedication. Naturally, people's opinions of him began to change. That guy, Mitchell, right? He's incredibly capable for someone so young. That banker from the other day, he actually listened to our concerns even though we're just a small company. I thought Imperial Bank would just give us the runaround, but my perception of them has changed. I look forward to working with you again. Thank you, we appreciate your continued support. Mitchell responded with a radiant smile. Ryan, can you check this? Yeah, thanks. Unlike before, his reports now included detailed analyses of a company's goals, the challenges they faced, and his perspective as a loan officer. Though there was still room for improvement, his natural intelligence and quick learning abilities, honed at a top university, were undeniable. All right. Mitchell, go ahead with this. Yes. Thank you. Mitchell. As he busily prepared, I called out to him. What is it? You've come a long way. With a slightly shy expression, he looked like a young boy, innocent and eager. Watching him, I felt like a father watching his once troubled child finally grow up. It was a deeply moving moment. Well then, I'm off. With the enthusiastic gazes of his colleagues on him, Mitchell dashed forward with renewed confidence. "Ryan, you really did a great job this time." Everett Corporation expressed their deep gratitude as well. Mr. Fletcher chuckled, his large frame shaking as he spoke. "I should be the one thanking you. Despite the risks, you supported me throughout the approval process, and I'm truly grateful for that." "Mr. Fletcher." I bowed deeply. No, lift your head. I knew I made the right decision in trusting this to you." "Ha! They say that we're now in an era where those with real ability are rewarded. But in the end, organizations still operate in a rigid hierarchy. The ones with the best academic credentials always have the advantage. And yet, I couldn't accept that. Offering you up as a sacrifice weighed on my conscience, but I had to prove that my belief was right." "Mr. Fletcher. So, what do you think? Would you like to take over after me?" His sharp gaze pierced straight through me. But I had my own convictions. "Mr. Fletcher, you have guided me ever since I was a rookie, and I hold immense respect for you as both a banker and a person. I am truly honored that you would ask me this. However, go on." With a gentle smile, like that of a benevolent god, he listened intently. "I love working in the field. I take pride in sweating alongside my colleagues and helping those in need, whether they're individuals or business owners." "I see. That's exactly what I expected you to say. I'm sorry for not meeting your expectations." No, this was just my own selfish request." "Don't worry about it." He slowly stood up and extended his left hand toward me. "Keep doing your best for Imperial Bank." "Yes, sir." As I shook his hand firmly, I was reminded of the hopeful days when I had just joined the bank. With work finally settling down, I decided to take a bold step. I asked Caitlin out to dinner. The last time we had met outside of work was at that bar. Tonight, she wasn't in her usual business attire but instead appeared in an elegant red dress. She looked more beautiful than ever. I felt my nerves tighten. "Caitlin. What is it? About us?" "Yeah." She seemed to sense what was coming and lowered her gaze. I could see her unexpectedly long eyelashes fluttering up and down repeatedly. "Spending time working with you again made me realize something, just how amazing you are." "No, not just amazing. I realized how important you are to me. And..." Her large eyes turned to meet mine. "At first, I thought of you as a valued colleague, someone I worked alongside. But as time went on, those feelings grew into something much bigger. In other words, I wasn't used to saying things like this to a woman." I hesitated, but then she gently took my hand from the table and held it. "I want to hear it from you." Her words gave me the courage I needed, and I squeezed her hand in return. "I love you. If you'll have me, I want you to stay by my side." "Yes, I'd love to." She let out a soft laugh, and I felt all the tension in my body melt away. "I was really happy, you know." "Ha! When you called me after so long, I got nervous, which isn't like me. Because, truth is, ever since we used to clash at work, I've always liked you." Her lips curled slightly as she confessed, and I couldn't hide my surprise. "Really? I had no idea. You're so oblivious." "I guess I am." We both burst into laughter. People can become insecure about their background or education. At times, they may even believe they're the rulers of their own little world. I may not have graduated from a top-tier university, but I've grown into a banker who can truly connect with people. There are so many things in life more important than academic achievements, things I hope to pass on to the next generation.